Hi, you guys. Today I'm so excited to share with you this bread recipe I've been working on for a little while now. This is my gluten-free marble rye bread. That's right, this loaf of bread right here is gluten-free and you will not be able to tell the difference. This is like something that you would find in a deli. It is soft on the inside but still hearty. It's got a little bit of a crust to it. It's unbelievable, you guys. And guess what? It's actually very, very easy to make. You really won't believe how easy it is. And I will walk you through it. So let's get started. So you take whole caraway seeds and grind them into a powder using a spice grinder. And what this does is it gives us that flavor of rye that we're missing without having the rye flour. So we add this to our dry ingredients in the bowl, which consist of my bread flour blend, along with psyllium husks, instant yeast, a little bit of granulated sugar, and some salt. And of course, you will always find the recipe link in the description box below the video. And that includes the recipe for my flour blend as well. You can find that on my website in I don't know, 3 different places. So we get this on the stand mixer, and I thought I was recording at the time, and I didn't when I added in the milk and butter. But you'll see the amounts of those in the recipe link. So we just mix this until it's a nice cohesive dough. It is very sticky though. We can't use it right now because we have to let it go through the normal process that most of my gluten-free bread doughs go through, and that is to first start out with a bulk ferment where we let it rise for a good 1 to 2 hours until it is doubled, even maybe tripled in size. And once that is done, you'll see it's almost like it's a little jiggly. It almost looks like frosting in a way. And then we put this in the fridge overnight, and that is what really gives us the texture to be able to knead the dough properly. So for this, we're going to take out about 2/3. You can eyeball it or you can use a scale. I'm just eyeballing it. So we leave 1/3 of the dough in the bowl. And to that, we're going to add about a tablespoon or so of molasses. I'm not even measuring here. I'm just doing it by eye, and about 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, unsweetened cocoa powder. And then we just mix this until it's combined. The cocoa and the molasses, neither one makes the bread sweet at all, so don't worry about that. So we want to knead these just until smooth, and I always get a lot of people wondering why I'm kneading when there's no gluten to be formed. Well, I know that, but you still need to knead the dough because it will make it a lot smoother and it will get rid of a lot of those air bubbles, which could then, create a large hole in your dough or your finished bread after it's baked. So what I'm doing now is I'm just bringing those two together, and I'm putting them on a baking sheet, and I'm going to cover them loosely with plastic wrap, and I'm sticking them in the freezer for about 15 to 20 minutes. I also do this with my croissant dough because I find that for stickier doughs especially, it really helps to be able to shape them if they are really, really cold, and the freezer does its purpose. So now we get them out, and we're going to roll out the light colored dough into about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick. We're not really going for a particular size of a rectangle here. We're just going for something that will fit in an 11.5 by 4-inch loaf pan. You want the smaller, I think that's like a 1-pound loaf pan. So I never really like to give measurements on like the size of the rectangle more than the height or width. So then we take the darker dough and roll that out to about, because it's a smaller dough, it's going to be rolled out to about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch thick. You can also just pat it with your hands if you'd rather, into the shape that you need it in. And by the way, if you want to, for both of these doughs, at the beginning, at the end, whenever, when you're kneading or whatever, you can add the whole caraway seeds to the dough as well if you really like a seeded rye. And I didn't here, but I normally do like seeded rye. So now we layer them, the darker one on top of the lighter one, and just roll it up like you would a cinnamon roll, as tightly as you possibly can. And if at any time you find that your dough, either of your doughs are getting to room temperature or even warmer, you can always stop, put this back in the freezer for another 10 to 15 minutes and try again. Now we put the seam side down, grab your loaf tin and spray it with nonstick spray, and then put the loaf in there. Spray it again with nonstick spray because this is a stickier type of dough. And then we kind of tuck it in to go in a warm, draft-free area for its second rise until it's about an inch or so over the top. And then we take, this is a lamb, and I can leave a link for that below. Or you can just use a sharp knife and cut some slits in the top for steam to escape. Now I cut them first, and then I go through and make them a little deeper because this is not gluten-filled bread where it's going to slash really great. It's very sticky, so it kind of takes a couple go-rounds sometimes. And then we're going to put this in a 450-degree oven with steam, and I've got directions for that in my recipe, for 15 minutes, and then we drop it down to 400 and bake it for another 30 to 35 minutes. Now I'm checking the temperature here, and I'm looking for 200. It was only at 150, so I put it in for another 10 minutes and checked again. And then it's perfect. We want 200, roughly 200 in the middle. And there is our gluten-free marble rye in all its beautiful glory. I am so excited about this bread. When I made this, we had Reuben sandwiches for like 2 or 3 days in a row because they were just that good. And that is one of my favorite sandwiches. And I'm going to make one now just to show you how well this works. So I'm adding 2 slices of Swiss cheese on either side. And I took corned beef that I braised myself, and then I left it in the fridge overnight and let it get nice and firm. And then I used my mandolin to slice it real thin like a deli slicer would do. So I'm piling up the corned beef. And then, of course, you can't have a Reuben without sauerkraut, one of my most favorite ingredients on a Reuben, and lots of Russian dressing. I made this myself. It's from I believe it's a Bon Appetit recipe that is linked in my recipe. And then we just get this on a griddle with a little bit of butter. And oh my gosh, you guys, this is probably the best Reuben I've ever had. I kid you not. It is divine. You are going to love this bread. So enjoy.